Am I the asshole for laughing at the name my sister chose for her baby? Updated end.
For context, I, 28F, attended a family dinner with my mom, dad and sister, 26F, yesterday. My sister is due to give birth soon and decided this dinner would be the perfect time to announce the name she chose for her first child. My sister has always been obsessed with aesthetics. Her whole house is beige and rather depressing if I am honest.
The whole nursery she built for baby is beige and gray and will not accept colorful gifts for the baby. I can tell her husband hates it, but he won't admit it.
Now here is the issue. I am very prone to laughing at inappropriate times. I am autistic and find it hard to filter what I say and my emotions, which can lead to me reacting to things in ways that can offend people.
I didn't think this would cause issues, until she revealed the name of her baby.
So, we are all done with our dinner. We are looking at my sister as announces her baby will be named
Brooklyn Willow Rose, insert surname, not including it for privacy.
Spelt exactly like that.
And then I burst out laughing, and said,
"You cannot be serious.
I am now banned from all family dinners."
Is the name really that bad?
Was I really a massive asshole?
Update. After writing this post, I decided to call my sister and apologize, as when I wrote down what happened I did realize what a dick move that was.
I said I was sorry for laughing and I apologized for using my mental disability as an excuse and offered to treat her to lunch as an apology. Understandably, she was reluctant to forgive me, but she did, which I am thankful for. She said she was hurt by my actions, which I understood, but was willing to look past it. I knew posting this story on here would give me the slap in the face that I needed, which I appreciate. And if anyone's wondering, the name is staying. I didn't comment at all on it.
You've got 3 separate questions here.
1. I am now banned from all family dinners. This seems a big overreaction unless there's more background you haven't shared. 2.
Is the name really that bad? Yes it really is.
3. Was I really a massive asshole? You were rude and inappropriate. You are the asshole, but that poor kid.
You are the asshole, but you are a correct asshole law.
Poor kid.
Broccoli?
She thinks it's a good idea to name her child Broccoli Willow? I'm sorry, but as a primary school teacher, Broccoli sounds too close to broccoli not to be made fun of. Not the asshole.
A sad beige house for a sad beige baby.
Esh.
The banning is weird. To disown you over this seems a big reaction.
I'm guessing you're either exaggerating or this isn't the first incident.
You're more than old enough to notice that people don't like being laughed at, and more than old enough to know that it doesn't get your point across, especially as you had a point.
The name sounds like broccoli. Learning techniques to help you stop blurting things out really should have been addressed when you were a kid, but it's not too late to take responsibility now you're an adult. Mindfulness techniques, pause and breathe, mental checklists, etc.
Ash, laughing was rude. Your family banning you from all family dinners is an extreme overreaction, and your sister is 99% likely to be a bad parent, based on how you've described her.
Am I the asshole for refusing to taxi my children to see their dad? My children are teenagers.
Their dad doesn't drive, he has no license.
Today is his day to have them, and he expects them dropped off at his house, a 20-minute drive away, around 8 miles. He owes child maintenance money which he is withholding.
Is messaging me constant abuse, calling me a money-grabbing CNT, and other vile words. Even though it's not me who has asked him for more money, it was determined by the child maintenance service. He says that by me not chauffeuring them around, I'm stopping him seeing them.
I've said he is welcome to come and pick them up. His new partner has a car. I'd never refuse him access, but I will no longer drive them to him. Surely it's his responsibility to come and get them?
So, am I the asshole, because he makes me feel like one?
Thanks.
Edit. He has now called the children and said he'll be over to collect them later this afternoon. I assume, with his partner driving.
Thanks everyone X.
Not the asshole for not taking on 100% of the transport responsibility. Presumably he is managing to get around elsewhere without a car or your help, so there is no reason he cannot work out picking up his kids. Having said this, if your sole reason for not driving them is because he is being a nasty bastard and doesn't deserve your help and not because it is an inconvenience, added expense for you, then please also consider your kids before making this stance. How will they feel if they don't get to go? Is there any way you could speak to him and the kids about the fact that you need to scale back and eventually stop taking on the transport responsibilities for both parents, thus giving him, and showing the kids that you are giving him, ample time to come up with alternative arrangements?
I have 6 children with my ex-husband, and in the decade we've been apart, I have not one day, not one time, transported them to him for his visitation time. No court has ordered it, no court has encouraged it, and in fact, he was court-ordered to buy a vehicle big enough to manage transportation all by his grown-up self. The responsibility for his visitation has been laid solely on him, and he has waived it plenty of times by not showing up. The eventual distance he created by his absence is his fault, not mine. Additionally, we are court-ordered to communicate solely through a co-parenting app called Our Family Wizard, to prevent similar vitriol coming from him to me. Something similar might be helpful for you. Hang in there. Not the asshole.
Edit, typos.
Not the asshole. Responsibility is 50-50 and access is not the same as transportation.
For example, I have access to a 24/7 gym, but it's my responsibility to get off my lazy ass over there. The father has access to his kids on the given days. Op is not locking them up and denying him that. He just has to put in the effort to get off his lazy ass to get them.
Not the asshole. Your kids are teenagers. Your ex is an adult.
This is a good time for them all to learn some independence. You're not an unpaid taxi for anyone, kids included. He steps up, pays his share and makes the effort to see his kids.
If not, I'd be pursuing whoever deals with this and notifying them of everything. He's looking for any excuse to not take responsibility. It's unfair for him to use access as leverage while not meeting his responsibilities. Am I the asshole for not having a wheelchair-accessible wedding? Throw away for privacy. My 25F fiancé and I, 22F, are getting married in October.
My future mother-in-law is a plant freak and their entire property looks like something out of a garden magazine. Cobblestone paths, fountains, statues, shaped bushes and some of the most beautiful plants and trees I've ever seen.
Including willow and cherry blossom trees.
We're getting married in the middle of a meadow towards the center of their property and it's going to be gorgeous.
My brother Justin has been dating Sarah for 6 years and they got engaged a few months ago. I'm not close with Sarah because they live across the state and only come down here for holidays and events. Sarah uses a prosthetic leg and apparently lately it's been getting to be too much for her, so she's been using a wheelchair.
He texted me asking if the property was wheelchair accessible and I said I didn't know and would let him know what I found out. There aren't any stairs but the property has different sections with grass, cobblestone, gravel, and dirt, and since I don't use a wheelchair I don't know how well they are at getting around in terrain like that. We went over to my in-laws to go over the ceremony and reception space and see how difficult it might be for Sarah.
I texted my brother to let him know about the terrain. He asked if the reception was in the house and I said no, we were having a tent set up. He asked if we were putting that party tent flooring down and I said no. We looked into it but it was out of our budget and everything will look nicer in the grass anyways. He asked if we would have one set up anyways because the grass would be too hard for Sarah to wheel over and I apologized and told him it was out of our budget by thousands. He told me that if we wouldn't do that Sarah couldn't come and we'd be excluding her. I said that it was unfortunate and if that was the case we'd miss her at our wedding. He called me ableist and discriminatory and said that if we wouldn't accommodate her then he wouldn't come to our wedding either. Not even a goddamn hour later I got a text from my mom saying that I was being mean to my brother and Sarah and that it wouldn't be a good look for me if I decided not to do such a simple thing. She told me that I could handle renting one of those tent patios since we didn't pay for a venue and a lot of our wedding. I said I was sorry and gave my reasoning again. She told me that if we excluded Sarah they'd pull their contribution to our wedding. I'm not sure how exactly since they paid for our dresses and those were paid for weeks ago. I told her that if her and my brother wanted to foot the but that I'd be more than happy to speak to my mother-in-law about having one put down. She said no. Her and dad are retired and Justin has his own wedding to pay for. I feel bad for excluding Sarah but I'm not sure what else I can do. Am I the asshole? Edit to add info. Sarah has used a prosthetic since she's been with my brother but this is the first and only time they've mentioned her being in a wheelchair.
We sent out save the dates with my Mills address as the venue about 8 months ago, and 2 months ago sent out formal invitations with more information regarding her property, parking, outdoors, length of walk to ceremony, etc. And I hadn't heard anything from my brother or Sarah besides a returned RSVP for yes.
Edit 2.
The quotes we were given for something that we were sure wouldn't harm my Mills lawn was about $6,000 to $9,000 to rent for the evening.
Our budget was $15,000 and we are already at the top end of it. Edit 3.
The reason I didn't suggest or look into a different kind of chair or scooter was because I just figured that that was something Sarah and Justin would have looked into themselves since they were the ones needing it.
I figured since they jumped right to a $9,000 solution at my pocket that the other options wouldn't work for them and they were bringing up the last available option. Also, my fiance's grandma is wheelchair bound as well but has been to my Mills house plenty of times and it hasn't come up as an issue.
And for everyone upset about us getting married in grass and that people will struggle with their heels, I said in my post that in our invitations we had information about my Mills property.
I'm sure people will dress accordingly considering they're aware of the venue. Not sure why people are mad about that. I would look into hiring a wheelchair that can do the rough terrain. We had a friend in a wheelchair that we took to the beach many times, and we would rent a special beach wheelchair for that.
There are options to solve this that are also affordable.
And most wheelchairs will be fine in grass, and yes, gravel sucks, but a wheelchair can go through that too. She probably can't wheel herself around, but she sure can be pushed around in grass. She can also use her prosthetic leg and have dedicated chairs around so she doesn't need to stand or walk for long. I have plenty of experiences with wheelchairs and, as it happens, with prosthetic legs. Sarah is being difficult and refuses to compromise.
It's a huge shame your mom won't see this. She is being used to bully you to spend thousands on adjustments for Sarah's comfort.
It's almost as if Sarah wants you to exclude her and to get herself tons of attention and sympathy at your cost.
My mother has a mobility scooter that can handle rough terrain. It's great for these situations.
You can hire them in a lot of places. Info, given this. Sarah uses a prosthetic leg and apparently lately it's been getting to be too much for her, so she's been using a wheelchair.
Can she use the wheelchair until she arrives at the venue, then switch to her prosthetic for the few hours necessary for the service and reception?
Failing that, has anyone investigated the availability and rental cost of all-terrain wheelchairs in your area? Not the asshole.
As one who pushed his late wheelchair-bound wife for many hundreds of miles, I think I can present a valid opinion. A normal wheelchair, not a transport chair with all small wheels, can be pushed on grassy surfaces with some effort if, of course, the terrain isn't super muddy and soft.
And a gravel path shouldn't be that big a deal either.
If we're not talking huge distances on the grass, this shouldn't be more than an inconvenience.
Info,
did you know that Sarah was primarily using a wheelchair before you settled on the venue?
Edit, based on your edit, hard not the asshole. Am I the asshole for making a dessert with my 2-year-old for a potluck? We had a potluck at work last week. I made this delicious brownie and cookie concoction with a caramel sauce. When I made it, my 2-year-old was by my side and helping as much as he could. When I put the dish out at the potluck, I added a sign that my son helped make it. I thought that was the right thing to do in case people had an issue with it. A co-worker who has made it known does not like kids. She has complained to HR about my kid being around at the end of the day for 15-30 minutes. This co-worker approached me and said that it wasn't fair that I made a dish that she wouldn't eat. I told her I just made the dish. I'm not concerned with who did and didn't eat it. She said that making a dish that wasn't made in a safe way and bringing it is not okay. I felt like providing the sign was enough to allow people to make their own decisions. She called me an asshole and I felt like she was blowing this way out of proportion. But am I the asshole? NTA. You are not a food business, it was a potluck. Is there a rule against children on the premises? What industry is this? Not the asshole. Your co-worker is just an AH. If you want all of your food to be prepared as if the state health inspector supervised the whole thing, you shouldn't eat anything at a potluck, not just the one dish where someone was upfront about the circumstances in which it was made. Not the asshole. I wouldn't eat it, but I wouldn't make a fuss about it either. To be honest, I generally skip out on potlucks when I don't have a pretty good idea of the kitchen hygiene of all involved.
Yeah, kids are kinda gross and have a tendency to put fingers in their nose and mouth and back into food. But so do some adults.
And some people let pets on the counter. Or don't wash their hands prior to preparing food or after using the toilet. Potlucks are a hygiene crapshoot regardless of whether kids are involved. I have to ask, did you create this sign purposely to trigger that coworker? Because I don't understand why you would make such a sign.
If the food was made in a safe manner, that was completely pointless.
You are the asshole. Everyone sucks here except the 2-year-old. Coworker is being overly dramatic. Potlucks are gross and dangerous for people with allergies, intolerances. 2-yo should not help with food intended for people outside the home.
2-yo should definitely not be at work unless it's a daycare, but you said it's an office because you're being paid to work, not watch your 2-yo. Honestly?
Esh.
Your coworker clearly has issues, but it's pretty plain to see that you made that sign with the express intent to antagonize them.